Obama, The Audacity of a Legacy. Chapter 1, Roots and Beginnings, A World of Influences. The story of Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States, begins not in the halls of power in Washington, D.C., but on a diverse island in the Pacific, a place far removed from the traditional centers of American political might. On August 4, 1961, at the Kapiolani Medical Center in Honolulu, Hawaii, Barack Hussein Obama II entered a world shaped by a confluence of cultures and an unlikely union. His mother, Ann Dunham, was a curious, free-spirited white American from Kansas, whose intellectual wanderlust would define her life and influence her son profoundly. His father, Barack Obama Sr., was a charismatic, brilliant Kenyan exchange student whose fleeting presence would cast a long shadow, forcing his son to grapple early with questions of identity and belonging. Their marriage, itself a symbol of an era pushing against racial boundaries, was brief. By the time young Barack, known simply as Bari, was 2 years old, his father had left for Harvard and then, permanently, for Kenya. Though the elder Obama would return only once during his son's childhood, his absence became a foundational element of his son's self-discovery, fueling a lifelong search for roots and meaning. Ann Dunham, restless and ever-seeking new experiences, soon married Lolo Sotoro, an Indonesian graduate student. In 1967, 4-year-old Bari and his mother embarked on a new chapter, trading the familiar shores of Hawaii for the bustling, vibrant streets of Jakarta, Indonesia. This period proved formative, exposing Obama to a world dramatically different from the American suburban norm. He navigated cultural nuances, learned a new language, and encountered poverty and communal living in a way few Western children ever do. His mother, while often absorbed in her anthropological studies, instilled in him a love of learning and an early appreciation for diverse perspectives, challenging him to look beyond surface appearances. She insisted he study hard, waking him at 4 in the morning to pore over American textbooks before he headed off to a local Indonesian school. Lolo Sotoro, a kind and gentle presence, taught him to box, to raise chickens, and to appreciate the simple rhythms of life in a developing nation. This eclectic upbringing broadened Obama's understanding of the world, shaping his perception of global connections and human aspirations, and embedding in him a sense of the vastness of human experience. Yet, even as he adapted to life in Jakarta, Anne recognized the importance of providing her son with a strong American education and sense of stability. In 1971, at the age of 10, Bari returned to Honolulu, but this time, he moved in with his maternal grandparents, Madeline and Stanley Dunham. They would become the steadfast anchors of his youth. Madeline, affectionately known as Toot, was a quiet, practical woman who rose from a bank secretary to a vice president, embodying resilience and a commitment to hard work. She offered unconditional love and a stabilizing force. Stanley, or Gramps, was a larger-than-life character, a former soldier and furniture salesman with a booming voice and a love for storytelling. He filled their home with opinions, debates, and a profound belief in the American dream, instilling in young Barack a sense of civic responsibility and the power of individual initiative. Living with his grandparents, Obama experienced the quiet rhythm of middle-class American life, balancing it with the memories of his global upbringing. He attended Punahou School, an elite prep school, where he was often one of only a handful of non-white students. Here, the subtle complexities of his biracial identity began to emerge. He was Black in a predominantly white environment, yet his connection to his African father was largely through stories and imagination. This duality fostered an innate sense of observation and a desire to bridge divides, to understand where he fit in. The earliest seeds of his distinctive worldview, one that inherently sought common ground across differences, were sown in these foundational years. The diverse tapestry of his family, Kenyan, Kansan, Indonesian, and Hawaiian, became the bedrock upon which his entire journey would be built, shaping his understanding of identity, belonging, and the audacious possibility of America itself. Chapter 2, The Formative Years, Awakening the Mind. Returning to Hawaii at the age of 10, Barack Obama navigated the cultural currents of Punahou School, an elite institution that, while offering exceptional education, also highlighted his unique position. He excelled in academics and basketball, finding solace and identity within his peer group. Yet, beneath the surface of a seemingly normal adolescence, a deeper search for self was underway. His experiences in Jakarta, his absent father, and the looming questions of his biracial heritage fostered a persistent introspection. He became a keen observer, often feeling like an outsider looking in, which sharpened his analytical skills and cultivated an empathetic imagination. Upon graduating high school in 1979, Obama sought new horizons, enrolling in Occidental College in Los Angeles. This move marked his definitive departure from the sheltered embrace of Hawaii and initiated a period of intense intellectual growth and personal exploration. Here, he encountered a vibrant student body and a political landscape buzzing with activism. He engaged in campus demonstrations against apartheid in South Africa and nuclear proliferation, discovering a nascent passion for social justice. These early encounters with political engagement were less about grand ideological stances and more about the practical application of ideals, the desire to make the world a more just place. He recognized that the causes he was drawn to were not abstract, but deeply rooted in the struggles of real people. But Los Angeles, for all its promise, felt transient. He felt a craving for a more rigorous, focused intellectual environment. After 2 years at Occidental, a significant decision propelled him eastward. He transferred to Columbia University in New York City in 1981, majoring in political science with a specialty in international relations. Manhattan, with its relentless energy and diverse population, offered the intellectual challenge he sought. He devoured books on political theory, history, and literature, engaging with ideas that stretched his understanding of power, identity, and the intricate workings of society. Thinkers like James Baldwin, Frantz Fanon, and W.B. Du Bois resonated deeply, helping him articulate the complexities of race and selfhood that he had intuited since childhood. Life in New York was not glamorous. He lived modestly, often in sparsely furnished apartments, juggling part-time jobs while immersing himself in his studies. He worked at Business International Corporation, a consulting firm, and later at the New York Public Interest Research Group. These experiences, though far from the political spotlight, grounded him in the practicalities of urban life and the challenges faced by ordinary citizens. He walked the city streets, absorbing the diverse lives around him, recognizing that the grand theories he absorbed in lecture halls had tangible consequences in the everyday. This period of intellectual awakening and personal austerity was crucial. It was in these years that Obama began to coalesce his worldview, moving beyond the personal quest for identity to a broader understanding of his place in the world. He started to articulate the desire to contribute, to find a way to make a tangible difference. The ideas he wrestled with on paper, the experiences he gained in the bustling city, and the enduring questions of his heritage all pointed him towards a path of public service. He recognized that knowledge and empathy alone were not enough. Action was required. New York sharpened his intellect, deepened his resolve, and prepared him for the next, surprising chapter of his journey. A return to community, far from the ivy-covered walls in the challenging neighborhoods of Chicago. Chapter 3. Chicago Calling, the Community Organizer's Path. After graduating from Columbia University in 1983, Barack Obama found himself at a crossroads. He had absorbed a wealth of theoretical knowledge, intellectually grappling with issues of race, class, and social justice. Yet, the abstract world of academia felt increasingly detached from the tangible struggles of everyday people. He craved direct engagement, a way to test his ideals against the gritty realities of urban life. Turning down offers to work in more conventional, lucrative fields, he chose a path less traveled for an Ivy League graduate: community organizing. The decision was born from a desire to walk the walk, to understand change from the ground up, rather than from a distance. In 1985, Obama moved to Chicago's South Side, a sprawling landscape of working-class neighborhoods grappling with deindustrialization, poverty, and racial tensions. He joined the Developing Communities Project, a church-based organization dedicated to empowering residents in communities like Altgeld Gardens, Roseland, and West Pullman. His office was a cramped, unassuming space in a local church basement, and his salary was modest, often barely covering rent and basic necessities. His role was to listen, to observe, and to help residents identify and address their own problems. It was a rigorous, often frustrating education in the practicalities of social change. He learned that progress was rarely linear, and that grand theories often crumbled in the face of bureaucratic indifference or deep-seated mistrust. He spent countless hours door-knocking, attending church services, and facilitating crowded, sometimes contentious, community meetings. He learned to navigate the complex dynamics of local politics, to build consensus among disparate groups, and to empower individuals who had long felt voiceless. One of his early projects involved advocating for the removal of asbestos from Altgeld Gardens, a dilapidated public housing complex plagued by environmental hazards. This wasn't a glamorous fight, but it was vital to the health and dignity of the residents. He organized tenants, helped them articulate their grievances, and pressured city authorities for action. He learned the painstaking process of grassroots advocacy, small victories, persistent setbacks, and the vital role of sustained, collective action. He discovered that true leadership lay not in dictating solutions, but in drawing out the innate wisdom and resilience of the community itself. The challenges were immense. He confronted apathy, cynicism, and the deep-seated weariness of people who had been promised much but given little. He learned about the entrenched systems that perpetuated inequality and the importance of strategy and negotiation. But he also witnessed extraordinary courage and determination among the residents, their refusal to simply accept their circumstances. These experiences forged his practical idealism, teaching him that while hope was essential, it had to be fueled by concrete action and persistent effort. Working as a community organizer in Chicago was more than just a job for Obama. It was a crucible that refined his understanding of power, justice, and the American dream. He saw firsthand the devastating impact of economic decline and racial injustice, but also the transformative power of collective action. He came to believe deeply that lasting change originates not from grand pronouncements, but from the painstaking work of organizing people around shared interests. Even as he helped others find their voice, he continued to refine his own. He realized that while grassroots organizing could achieve local victories, larger, systemic change required a different set of tools. He felt a growing need for a deeper understanding of the legal and political structures that governed society. This insight, born from the tireless nights in church basements and the frustrations of slow progress, ultimately led him to a momentous decision: to pursue a law degree, to gain the skills and credentials he believed necessary to amplify his impact and fight for change on a broader stage. Chicago had called him to serve, and in answering that call, he had found his purpose, even as he began to look toward the next stage of his journey. Chapter 4, A Partnership Forged, Harvard, Love, and Family. The decision to attend law school was a strategic one for Barack Obama. His years as a community organizer had revealed the limitations of grassroots efforts alone in the face of entrenched legal and economic systems. He sought to acquire the tools of public policy, to understand the levers of power from within, and to harness them for the benefit of the communities he served. In 1988, he packed his bags for Cambridge, Massachusetts, his new destination. Harvard Law School, one of the most prestigious legal institutions in the world. Harvard presented a different kind of challenge than the streets of the South Side. It was an environment of intellectual rigor, intense competition, and high expectations. Yet Obama thrived. He devoured legal texts, engaged in spirited debates, and quickly distinguished himself among his peers. His distinctive perspective, honed by his upbringing and community work, brought a unique depth to discussions on constitutional law, civil rights, and social justice. He wasn't just learning the law, he was questioning its application and its impact on the very people he had worked alongside. A pivotal moment in his academic career came with his election as the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review in February 1990. This was a remarkable achievement, placing him at the helm of the most influential student-edited law journal in the country. The position not only showcased his intellectual prowess and ability to unify a highly diverse and often contentious staff, but also brought him national media attention. It solidified his reputation as a thoughtful, eloquent, and conciliatory leader, capable of bridging divides even among competing viewpoints. While academic success marked his time in Cambridge, a life-altering encounter awaited him back in Chicago during a summer internship. In 1989, Obama returned for a summer associate position at Sidley Austin, a prominent corporate law firm. There, he was assigned a mentor, Michelle Robinson, a sharp, accomplished, and deeply grounded young lawyer from the city's South Side. From the outset, the chemistry between them was undeniable, though Michelle initially resisted a romantic entanglement, wary of office relationships. Michelle LaVaughn Robinson was everything Obama admired. Intelligent, confident, effortlessly authentic, and possessing a deep connection to her family and community. She challenged him, called him on his occasional lofty rhetoric, and grounded him in the practical realities she knew so well. Their initial professional relationship quickly deepened into a courtship characterized by long conversations, shared dreams, and a mutual commitment to integrity and service. Michelle saw beyond the rising star at Harvard, recognizing the thoughtful, earnest man who sought to make a difference. Obama, in turn, found in Michelle not just a partner, but an indispensable anchor, a person who understood him fundamentally and complemented him perfectly. Their relationship blossomed, built on a foundation of respect, shared values, and a healthy dose of loving banter. They found common ground in their upbringings, both from families that valued education and hard work, both driven by a desire to contribute. On October 3, 1992, Barack Obama and Michelle Robinson were married at Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. The union marked the beginning of a truly modern partnership, one that would sustain them through the challenges and triumphs of public life. After law school, Obama returned to Chicago, where he continued his work in civil rights law and began teaching constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School. Michelle built a successful career in law and public service, working for the city and later for the University of Chicago Medical Center. They welcomed their two daughters, Malia Ann in 1998 and Natasha, Sasha, in 2001, balancing demanding careers with the joys and responsibilities of parenthood. Their family life became the bedrock of their existence, providing a sanctuary of normalcy and love as Obama's public profile began to steadily rise. The couple's partnership, forged during those pivotal years, stood as a testament to shared ambition, unwavering support, and a profound commitment to each other and the family they so cherished. It was this strong, grounded relationship that would provide the stability necessary for the extraordinary journey that lay ahead. Chapter 5. Springboard to Politics, the Illinois Senate Years. With his law degree in hand, his family growing, and a strong sense of purpose, Barack Obama returned to Chicago, a city that had truly become his home. He joined the small civil rights law firm of Minor, Barnhill, and Galland, where he continued to advocate for racial justice and voting rights. Simultaneously, he took on a position teaching constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School, a role that allowed him to both intellectually engage with the principles of governance and remain connected to the academic world. Yet, the pull of direct public service remained strong. His experiences as a community organizer had instilled in him a deep understanding of local needs, and his legal education had equipped him with the analytical tools to address systemic issues. He realized that to effect change on a broader scale, he would need to enter the arena of electoral politics. It was a leap, but one he felt increasingly compelled to make. In 1996, Obama decided to run for the Illinois State Senate, representing the 13th District, a diverse constituency that included his Hyde Park neighborhood and surrounding communities on Chicago's South Side. It was a challenging campaign, requiring tireless door-knocking, community meetings, and building relationships with local leaders. His blend of intellectual acumen and grassroots experience resonated with voters, and he won the election, taking office in January 1997. His tenure in the Illinois Senate, spanning 8 years, proved to be an invaluable apprenticeship in the art of governance. He arrived in Springfield as a freshman legislator, but quickly distinguished himself through his thoughtful approach and his ability to work across the aisle. Unlike some politicians who sought the limelight, Obama focused on substantive policy work, patiently building coalitions and meticulously crafting legislation. He became a leading voice for ethics reform, working to clean up a state political system notorious for corruption. He championed reforms that expanded healthcare access for low-income families and children, recognizing the fundamental human right to medical care. He fought for early childhood education initiatives, understanding that investments in children's lives yielded long-term societal benefits. Perhaps most notably, he played a crucial role in reforming the state's criminal justice system, introducing measures that improved police accountability, required the videotaping of interrogations in capital crime cases, and addressed racial profiling. These reforms were groundbreaking, making Illinois one of the first states to enact such progressive changes. Obama's legislative style was characterized by a combination of intellectual rigor, a willingness to listen, and an unwavering commitment to his principles. He understood that legislative success often required compromise and careful negotiation, but he never lost sight of his ultimate goals: equity, opportunity, and justice for all Illinoisans. He built strong relationships with both Democratic and Republican colleagues, earning a reputation as a pragmatic and effective lawmaker. His time in Springfield was also a period of immense personal growth. While engaged in the demanding work of legislating, he and Michelle welcomed their two daughters, Malia and Sasha, into their lives. Balancing family life with the demands of a political career became a constant negotiation, one that Michelle handled with extraordinary grace and strength. His growing political profile also meant more time away from home, a sacrifice they both understood was part of his chosen path. The Illinois State Senate provided Barack Obama with a critical understanding of how government functions, how policies are made, and how to navigate the intricate world of politics. It allowed him to transform his ideals into tangible legislation and gain practical experience in the art of the possible. He left Springfield with a solid legislative record, a reputation for integrity and effectiveness, and an increasingly visible statewide profile. He was no longer just a community organizer or a law professor. He was a proven legislator, and the foundations for a much larger stage were firmly in place. The next national opportunity, however, would arrive sooner and more dramatically than anyone could have predicted. Chapter 6: The National Stage, A Star is Born. The year 2004 began with Barack Obama, an accomplished but still relatively unknown state senator, poised to seek a greater challenge. Having gained a solid legislative record and a reputation for effectiveness in Illinois, he decided to run for the U.S. Senate. It was an ambitious undertaking, typically requiring years of careful cultivation, powerful alliances, and substantial financial backing. Yet the political currents were about to shift dramatically in his favor, propelled by an unexpected national spotlight. The Democratic Party, preparing for its 2004 National Convention in Boston, was looking for a fresh face to deliver the keynote, address a speech traditionally reserved for rising stars and seasoned politicians. The task was to articulate the party's vision for the nation, to inspire the base, and to introduce a compelling figure to a national audience. Democratic strategists, including future senior advisor David Axelrod, saw in the articulate, charismatic Illinois state senator a unique blend of intellectual depth, personal story, and a clear message of unity. The invitation, while a tremendous honor, was also a considerable risk for a politician whose name was largely unfamiliar outside of Illinois. On July 27, 2004, Barack Obama stepped onto the brightly lit stage of the Fleet Center in Boston. He was not introduced by a political heavyweight, but by a simple video montage of his life. Dressed in a dark suit, his composure belied the enormity of the moment. With a calm, resonant voice, he began a speech that would instantly transform his political trajectory. He spoke not of red states or blue states, but of the United States of America. He wove a personal narrative of his multicultural heritage into a universal American story, one of shared aspirations and common dreams. He evoked the themes of hope, opportunity, and the audacity to believe in a better future, echoing the very essence of American idealism. "My story is America's story," he declared, seamlessly connecting his unusual background to the quintessential American experience. He did not traffic in partisan attacks, but in an earnest call for unity and a rejection of cynicism. "We are one people, all of us pledging allegiance to the stars and stripes, all of us defending the United States of America." When he finished, the arena erupted in applause, sustained and thunderous. The speech was an unequivocal triumph. Journalists, political analysts, and the public alike were captivated. News channels immediately replayed excerpts, and within hours, the name Barack Obama was on the lips of millions across the country. It was, as many later described it, a rock star moment, a rare instance where a single speech catapulted an unknown figure into the national consciousness. The momentum from the convention carried directly into his U.S. Senate campaign. His opponent, Republican primary winner Jack Ryan, withdrew from the race due to personal scandal, and a replacement was nominated, but the wave of enthusiasm for Obama was undeniable. He leveraged the national attention to raise funds and build a groundswell of support across Illinois. His message, now amplified on a national scale, resonated far beyond his home state. On November 2, 2004, Barack Obama won the U.S. Senate election by an overwhelming margin, securing nearly 70% of the vote. He became the fifth African American ever elected to the U.S. Senate and the only African American in the body at the time. His arrival in Washington, D.C. as a freshman senator was unlike any other. He stepped into the prestigious chamber not as a cautious newcomer, but as a political phenomenon, a figure already inspiring talk of higher office. The humble community organizer, the diligent state legislator, had now been fully introduced to the national stage. The audition for a larger role was complete. The main act was just beginning. Chapter 7: The Audacity of Hope. From senator to aspirant, Barack Obama arrived in Washington, D.C. in January 2005, as arguably the most famous freshman senator in recent memory. The dazzling impact of his 2004 Democratic National Convention keynote speech had preceded him, creating an immediate, almost unprecedented, level of public and media scrutiny. For most new senators, the initial years are spent learning the intricacies of Capitol Hill, building alliances, and establishing a legislative foothold. For Obama, these traditional rites of passage were intertwined with the constant hum of speculation about his political future. Despite the intense scrutiny, Obama approached his legislative duties with characteristic diligence. He joined the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, a strategic choice that allowed him to immerse himself in global affairs, travel extensively, and project a serious foreign policy stature. He collaborated with prominent senators on bipartisan initiatives, including efforts to expand lobbying disclosure rules with Republican Senator Tom Coburn, and to address issues in developing countries with Senator Richard Lugar. He served on the Environment and Public Works Committee and the Veterans Affairs Committee, quietly building a record while carefully cultivating relationships. His style remained measured, thoughtful, and pragmatic, earning him respect from colleagues on both sides of the aisle, even as his star continued its meteoric ascent. Amidst his senatorial duties, Obama found time to deepen his reflections on American society and policy, culminating in the publication of his second memoir, The Audacity of Hope: Thoughts on Reclaiming the American Dream, in October 2006. The book expanded upon the themes first introduced in his keynote address, delving into his political philosophy, his views on faith, family, and the challenges facing the nation. It was a measured, intellectual examination of American identity and the path forward, contrasting sharply with the often divisive rhetoric of the political landscape. The Audacity of Hope became an instant bestseller, further solidifying his national profile and demonstrating his ability to articulate complex ideas in an accessible and compelling way. It also served as a de facto platform, outlining his vision for the country and subtly positioning him for a broader leadership role. The question of a presidential run became less a matter of if and more a matter of when. Everywhere he went, public expectation followed. Media reports chronicled his every move, analysts parsed his every statement, and campaign staff began to coalesce around the notion of a historic bid. For Obama, the decision was not taken lightly. He weighed the personal toll on his family, the immense demands of the office, and the daunting challenge of convincing a nation to elect a relatively inexperienced African American to the highest office in the land. Michelle Obama, fiercely protective of their family and deeply aware of the sacrifices involved, initially expressed strong reservations. She pushed him to clarify his intentions, to ensure that the pursuit was not driven by external pressure, but by a genuine belief in his capacity to lead and his vision for the country. Her pragmatic groundedness often served as a crucial counterpoint to the political whirlwind. Ultimately, after intense deliberation and consultation with loved ones and trusted advisors like David Axelrod and Valerie Jarrett, Obama made the decision to run. On February 10, 2007, standing before the old state capitol building in Springfield, Illinois, the very place Abraham Lincoln had once launched his own political career, Barack Obama formally announced his candidacy for President of the United States. He spoke of the need to transcend the petty divisions, to reclaim the country's promise, and to restore a sense of unity and shared purpose. The pronouncement transformed him from a rising senator into a long-shot presidential aspirant, ready to challenge the established order and embark on one of the most remarkable political campaigns in American history. The audacity of hope had found its ultimate expression. Chapter 8, The Campaign Trail, Yes We Can. When Barack Obama declared his candidacy for president on a frigid February day in 2007, his prospects seemed, to many, slim. Facing a formidable opponent in Hillary Clinton, a former First Lady and seasoned senator widely considered the Democratic frontrunner, Obama was initially dismissed by some as a long shot, an eloquent but inexperienced newcomer. Yet, what unfolded over the next 21 months would redefine American political campaigning and culminate in one of the most historic electoral victories in the nation's history. Obama's campaign strategy centered on disruption and an appeal to a fundamental human desire for change. Its message, epitomized by the rallying cries, hope and change, and yes we can, bypassed traditional political rhetoric. Instead, it tapped into a widespread disillusionment with politics as usual and ignited a fervent belief that a different, more unified America was possible. A key element of this revolutionary approach was its masterful utilization of grassroots organizing and emergent digital technologies. Unlike traditional campaigns that relied heavily on wealthy donors and top-down messaging, Obama's team harnessed the power of the internet for small-dollar donations, allowing millions of ordinary citizens to contribute. This grassroots funding model not only provided an unprecedented financial advantage, but also fostered a deep sense of ownership among his supporters. The primary season against Hillary Clinton became an epic battle of ideas, experience, and charisma. Clinton represented pragmatism, experience, and the culmination of decades of Democratic Party establishment. Obama offered visionary leadership, a fresh start, and an emphasis on unity over division. The race was arduous, marked by intense debates, relentless travel, and a relentless focus on individual state contests. Obama's ability to draw massive crowds, his powerful rhetoric, and his campaign's superior ground operation in caucus states gradually chipped away at Clinton's seemingly insurmountable lead. Historic victories in states like Iowa, South Carolina, and Wisconsin, fueled by an energized coalition of young people, African Americans, and independent voters, ultimately led to his eventual nomination in June 2008, making him the first African American presumptive nominee for a major party. With the nomination secured, the general election contest against Republican Senator John McCain began. McCain, a Vietnam War hero and a respected figure on the American political landscape, offered a narrative of seasoned leadership and bipartisan cooperation. However, the political winds were shifting. The nation was grappling with a growing sense of economic instability, compounded by the escalating costs and human toll of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The financial crisis that exploded in the fall of 2008 fundamentally reshaped the race. As Wall Street teetered on the brink and the economy plunged into recession, the public's desire for calm, decisive leadership intensified. Obama's measured response, his consistent focus on economic solutions for the middle class, and his ability to project a sense of hope amidst despair contrasted sharply with the prevailing anxieties. His campaign continued to leverage its technological advantage, utilizing social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube to reach voters directly and mobilize an unprecedented volunteer force. The iconic Hope poster designed by Shepard Fairey became a ubiquitous symbol, encapsulating the campaign's artistic and cultural appeal. On November 4, 2008, 21 months after his initial announcement, the judgment of the American people was rendered. Barack Obama won the presidency by a significant margin, securing 365 electoral votes to McCain's 173, and winning the popular vote by nearly 9.5 million ballots. The victory was not merely quantitative, it was profoundly historic. In a country grappling with its racial past, a black man had been elected to the nation's highest office, shattering a barrier once considered insurmountable. The scene in Chicago's Grant Park on election night was electric, a mosaic of jubilation and tears. Millions around the world watched as Obama delivered his victory speech, a message of unity, perseverance, and the enduring power of the American ideal. "It's been a long time coming," he declared, acknowledging the generations of struggle that had paved the way for this moment. The campaign, which had begun with a profound sense of skepticism, concluded with an overwhelming sense of change and possibility. The audacious hope he had spoken of years earlier had, against considerable odds, found its fulfillment in the hearts of a nation ready to believe in a different future. Chapter 9: The Oval Office. Navigating the Storm. On January 20, 2009, Barack Obama was inaugurated as the 44th President of the United States. His oath of office, delivered on the steps of the U.S. Capitol before an unprecedented crowd, was a moment bursting with symbolism and global significance. Yet, the euphoria of the historic victory was quickly overshadowed by the profound and immediate challenges facing the nation. Obama inherited an economy in freefall, 2 ongoing wars, and a deeply polarized political landscape. He would often quip that he didn't just inherit a mess, he inherited a catastrophe. His administration's first, and most urgent task, was to avert a total economic collapse. The Great Recession, triggered by the subprime mortgage crisis and amplified by a failing financial system, was unraveling the fabric of American life. Unemployment was soaring, foreclosures were rampant, and consumer confidence had plummeted. Within weeks of taking office, Obama signed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, a massive $787 billion stimulus package designed to inject critical funds into the economy through infrastructure projects, tax cuts, and aid to states. This bold move, while controversial, was intended to prevent an even deeper depression and stabilize the financial system. His administration also authorized a bailout of the struggling auto industry, a decision that saved millions of jobs and ultimately revitalized a key American manufacturing sector. Beyond the immediate economic crisis, Obama was determined to tackle long-standing issues that had plagued the nation. A cornerstone of his domestic agenda was healthcare reform. Despite decades of attempts by previous administrations, the United States remained the only major developed country without universal health care. After a grueling and contentious legislative battle marked by fierce political opposition and intense public debate, the Affordable Care Act, ACA, was signed into law in March 2010. Often referred to as Obamacare, the ACA aimed to expand health insurance coverage to millions of uninsured Americans, regulate the insurance industry, and lower healthcare costs. It represented the most significant overhaul of the U.S. healthcare system in nearly half a century, fundamentally altering the landscape of American medicine. In foreign policy, Obama immediately set about fulfilling his campaign promise to end the Iraq War. He announced a phased withdrawal of U.S. troops, a process that concluded in December 2011. While winding down one war, he also escalated the fight against al-Qaeda and the Taliban in Afghanistan, deploying additional troops as part of a new strategy focusing on counterterrorism and nation-building. A major triumph on the national security front came on May 2, 2011, when U.S. Navy SEALs executed a daring raid in Pakistan, killing Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the September 11th attacks. The successful operation, a culmination of years of intelligence gathering, was a significant victory in the fight against terrorism and fulfilled a promise made during the previous administration. Despite these legislative and national security achievements, Obama's first term was characterized by persistent political polarization. The rise of the Tea Party movement, fueled by opposition to the stimulus, the ACA, and perceived government overreach, created an unyielding and vocal opposition that significantly hampered his ability to pass further legislation and often resulted in legislative gridlock. Debates over the national debt, government spending, and the role of government became increasingly acrimonious. Through it all, Obama maintained a calm and deliberate demeanor, frequently emphasizing hope and unity even as partisan divides deepened. He navigated the complexities of international relations, including the Arab Spring uprisings and tensions with Russia and China. His first 4 years in office were a relentless exercise in crisis management and ambitious policy making, transforming the vision of hope and change into concrete, if often contested, governmental actions. He had inherited a nation at a precipice, and through a mix of bold interventions and steady leadership, he had steered it away from the brink, preparing the ground for a second term that would continue to define his enduring legacy. Chapter 10, A Second Mandate, Challenges and Hopes Renewed. Despite mounting challenges and significant political headwinds, President Obama sought and won a second term in November 2012, defeating Republican challenger Mitt Romney. His re-election, while a testament to the resilience of his political coalition and his ability to appeal directly to the American people, ushered in another 4 years defined by complex domestic and international issues, intense partisan battles, and a continued pursuit of his agenda. Entering his second term, Obama's primary focus shifted from economic triage to long-term recovery and growth. The economy, though still fragile, was showing signs of steady improvement, with job growth resuming and the housing market slowly rebounding. This allowed his administration to pivot to other crucial areas. However, legislative progress remained a formidable challenge. The political landscape continued to be marked by gridlock, with a Republican-controlled House of Representatives often at odds with the White House. One of the most emotionally charged issues of his second term was gun control. Following the tragic shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in December 2012, which claimed the lives of 20 children and 6 adults, Obama made a fervent plea for stricter gun laws. He pushed for universal background checks, bans on assault weapons, and limits on high-capacity magazines. Despite widespread public support for some of these measures, the intensely partisan nature of the debate and the powerful lobbying efforts against legislative changes ultimately led to the failure of comprehensive federal gun control legislation in Congress. This setback was a stark reminder of the limitations of presidential power in the face of deep-seated political divisions. On the foreign policy front, Obama's second term saw significant diplomatic initiatives and responses to evolving global threats. A landmark achievement was the Iran nuclear deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, signed in 2015. This multilateral agreement, negotiated with Iran alongside other world powers, aimed to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons in exchange for sanctions relief. It represented a diplomatic effort over military confrontation, a hallmark of Obama's foreign policy approach. Another historic move was the re-establishment of full diplomatic relations with Cuba in 2014, ending more than 5 decades of estrangement between the two nations and opening new avenues for trade and travel. The rise of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, posed a menacing new challenge. As the extremist group seized vast territories in Iraq and Syria, committing horrific atrocities and inspiring terrorist attacks globally, Obama authorized military action, including airstrikes and the deployment of military advisors. His administration also continued to oversee the final withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, a process that faced its own complexities and delays. Domestically, Obama's administration continued its efforts to address climate change. In 2015, the United States played a pivotal role in negotiating the Paris Agreement, a global accord aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The Clean Power Plan, introduced by the Environmental Protection Agency, sought to regulate carbon emissions from power plants, underscoring his commitment to environmental protection despite considerable opposition from fossil fuel industries and some political factions. Furthermore, his 2 terms saw significant social progress. While the legalization of same-sex marriage came through a Supreme Court decision in 2015, Obama's administration had consistently advocated for LGBTQ+ rights, including ending, don't ask, don't tell for military service members in his first term. His administration also implemented the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals (DACA) program in 2012, offering temporary legal status and protection from deportation to undocumented young people who arrived in the U.S. as children. As his second term drew to a close, President Obama reflected on the achievements and the persistent challenges. He had navigated an economic crisis, reshaped healthcare, pursued ambitious foreign policy goals, and pushed the nation towards a more inclusive vision. Yet the divisions within American society seemed to deepen, and the next election promised a stark choice. His time in office had been a continuous exercise in leadership, resilience, and the enduring quest for a more perfect union, defining a legacy that would continue to be debated and analyzed long after he departed the Oval Office. Chapter 11, Post-Presidency, Citizen Obama. On January 20, 2017, after 8 years in the Oval Office, Barack Obama transitioned from the most powerful position in the world to life as a private citizen. The departure from the presidency is always a profound shift, but for the Obamas, it marked a return to a semblance of normalcy after 2 decades in the relentless glare of public scrutiny. Initially, he followed the traditional post-presidency custom of a quiet interval, allowing his successor the space to govern and focusing on personal reflection and family time. The immediate post-presidency period saw Obama shedding the burdens of the office, reconnecting with friends, and enjoying simple pleasures with Michelle and their daughters, Malia and Sasha, who were beginning their adult lives. There were vacations, a highly anticipated memoir in the works, and a gradual re-engagement with public life on his own terms. Unlike some former presidents who remained deeply enmeshed in political commentary, Obama chose a more deliberate path, speaking out mostly on issues that aligned with his core values or when he believed democratic norms were at risk. A primary focus of his post-presidency has been the development and work of the Obama Foundation. Headquartered in Chicago, the foundation is envisioned as a living, working center for citizenship that aims to inspire, empower, and connect people to change their world. Its initiatives include programs like the Obama Leaders, which supports emerging leaders from around the globe, and My Brother's Keeper, dedicated to creating pathways to opportunity for boys and young men of color. The foundation also oversees the planning and development of the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago's South Side, a complex that will house a museum, public programs, and a library, meant to be an active civic hub rather than a traditional monument. In November 2020, Obama released his highly anticipated presidential memoir, A Promised Land. The more than 700-page volume provided an intimate and comprehensive account of his journey to the presidency and his first term in office. It offered readers a unique insight into the pressures, complexities, and exhilarations of leading the nation during a period of immense challenge. The book became an instant global bestseller, offering a valuable historical record and a personal reflection on leadership, race, and democracy. Michelle Obama's own best-selling memoir, Becoming, published in 2018, offered a complementary perspective, delving into her personal journey and experiences as First Lady. Beyond his foundation work and memoirs, Obama continues to engage in public discourse as a thoughtful and influential voice. He participates in global forums on democracy, climate change, and leadership, often emphasizing the importance of civic engagement and the preservation of democratic institutions. He has endorsed political candidates and campaigned for Democrats, particularly in moments he felt the future of American democracy was at stake. The post-presidency period has allowed Obama to step back from the daily political fray while remaining an active and impactful figure on the world stage. He embodies the role of a former president as a global citizen, a mentor to younger leaders, and a passionate advocate for values he believes are essential for a thriving democracy. His transition to Citizen Obama underscores a commitment to public service that extends beyond the confines of elected office, leveraging his unique experiences to inspire a new generation to tackle the challenges of their time with the same audacious hope that defined his journey. Chapter 12, The Enduring Legacy, a Historical Perspective. Assessing the legacy of a president just years removed from office is a complex endeavor, fraught with the subjectivity of contemporary events and the shifting tides of public opinion. Yet, even in this relatively short span, Barack Obama's 2 terms as the 44th President of the United States have undeniably forged an enduring and multifaceted legacy that will be debated and reevaluated by historians for generations to come. His presidency challenged prevailing notions of American identity, reshaped policy landscapes, and navigated a world in constant flux. Perhaps the most indelible mark of his presidency is the simple historical fact: he was the first African American president. This achievement alone fundamentally altered the perception of who could lead the nation, domestically and internationally. It inspired countless individuals and served as a powerful symbol of progress and the ongoing, albeit often difficult, journey towards a more perfect union. Beyond the symbolism, his very presence in the White House sparked necessary national conversations about race, identity, and opportunity, even amidst subsequent racial tensions. Policy-wise, the Affordable Care Act, ACA, stands as his signature legislative achievement. Despite persistent Republican efforts to repeal it, the ACA significantly expanded health insurance coverage to millions of previously uninsured Americans, implemented crucial consumer protections, and aimed to bend the curve of rising healthcare costs. It remains a foundational, if still evolving, pillar of American social policy. Economically, Obama inherited the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. His administration's aggressive response, including the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act and the bailout of the auto industry, is largely credited by economists with preventing a deeper catastrophe and setting the stage for a period of sustained job growth. While critics debated the size and scope of these interventions, the economic recovery that unfolded under his watch was substantial. In foreign policy, Obama sought to redefine America's role in the world, emphasizing diplomacy, multilateralism, and a departure from the war on terror mentality. The elimination of Osama bin Laden was a decisive national security victory. The Iran nuclear deal and the re-establishment of diplomatic relations with Cuba showcased a willingness to engage adversaries and pursue solutions through negotiation rather than confrontation. His administration also played a pivotal role in brokering the Paris Agreement on climate change, signifying a global commitment to addressing an urgent environmental crisis. While these initiatives faced criticism and varying degrees of success, they underscored a strategic shift towards softer power and global cooperation. Technologically, Obama's campaigns broke new ground in digital engagement, mobilizing voters and fundraising in unprecedented ways. His administration also embraced technology to improve government services, exemplified by efforts like the U.S. Digital Service, though the initial rollout of the ACA website highlighted the challenges. Beyond specific policies, Obama's presidency fostered a distinct tone of leadership. He projected a reasoned, analytical, and empathetic demeanor, even in the face of intense political opposition. He emphasized national unity, civic responsibility, and the importance of democratic institutions, often speaking of hope and progress even when faced with deep partisan divides. However, no legacy is without its complexities and critical assessments. While the economy rebounded, income inequality persisted, and the national debt grew. The ACA, while expanding coverage, faced challenges with rising premiums and provider choices. The political polarization that intensified during his terms continued, arguably contributing to the rise of new political forces. His foreign policy was critiqued by some for being too cautious or for failing to adequately counter rising global threats in certain regions. Ultimately, Barack Obama's legacy is that of a transformative figure who confronted monumental challenges with an unwavering commitment to his ideals. He expanded the boundaries of what was politically possible, leaving behind a nation fundamentally changed by his presence and his policies. His impact resonates not just in legislation and economic curves, but in the enduring image of a Black man occupying the nation's highest office, a symbol that continues to inspire hope and challenge the very fabric of American identity. His era remains a powerful testament to the audacity of a life dedicated to service and the enduring quest for a better world. Chapter 13. Looking Forward. Obama's Continued Influence. Even after leaving the Oval Office, Barack Obama has remained a prominent and influential voice on the national and global stage. Unlike many former presidents who retreat largely from public life, Obama has consciously chosen to maintain an active, though carefully curated, presence, driven by a deep conviction in the enduring importance of democratic ideals and the necessity of engaged citizenship. His post-presidency has been characterized by a strategic deployment of his unique position, leveraging his experience, wisdom, and global appeal to advocate for causes he believes are vital for the future. One of the most significant aspects of his continued influence lies in his role as a mentor to younger leaders. Through the Obama Foundation, he has cultivated programs designed to support and equip the next generation of changemakers. Whether through the Obama Leaders programs that bring together diverse individuals from across the globe, or the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, focused on empowering boys and young men of color, he actively invests in human potential. He views the development of thoughtful, ethical, and effective leadership as paramount to tackling the complex challenges of the 21st century. From climate change and economic inequality to racial injustice and political polarization, Obama also serves as a potent symbol of American democracy and an advocate for its principles on the global stage. He frequently speaks at international forums, reinforcing the importance of multilateral cooperation, human rights, and the rule of law. In a world increasingly marked by authoritarianism and geopolitical fragmentation, his calm, reasoned advocacy for democratic values resonates deeply, particularly among younger generations who have grown up in a more interconnected, but also more tumultuous world. He understands that the American experiment, with all its imperfections, remains a beacon of hope and a model to be perfected. His perspective on current political and social challenges is informed by his 8 years in the White House, offering a unique blend of insight and detachment. While generally refraining from direct attacks on his successors, he has not shied away from defending democratic norms, calling for unity, and emphasizing the necessity of truth and civic engagement. He frequently warns against the dangers of misinformation, tribalism, and cynicism, urging citizens to remain actively involved in safeguarding their democracies. What lessons can be drawn from Obama's journey for future leaders? Perhaps the most salient is the unwavering belief in the power of hope and the importance of perseverance. His life story, from a multicultural childhood to the presidency, is a testament to the transformative potential of an audacious vision. It showcases how a commitment to principle, combined with strategic pragmatism, can lead to progress even in the face of profound adversity. He demonstrated the necessity of bridging divides, of listening to opposing viewpoints, and of striving to find common ground in a fragmented world. Barack Obama's influence beyond the presidency is not merely about maintaining a public profile. It is about extending his legacy into the future. He seeks to empower others to pick up the mantle of change, to recognize their own agency, and to contribute to the ongoing work of perfecting society. His continued voice serves as a reminder that leadership extends beyond political office, that citizenship demands continuous effort, and that the audacity of hope remains a powerful force for progress in the continuing American story and, indeed, across the globe.